topic than the diets and the vegetables. Not that those are bad. But for those of you that don't know, my name is Samantha Pupstein, and I wanted to ask you guys, how many of you know your astrological sign? One person, apparently. Most of us do. Most of us are very much so aware of it, and I'm sure, especially if this class was a little bit bigger, there'd be some thoughts going through heads on this subject being completely rubbish and it all being baloney. Well, that's fine. I'm not here to change those opinions. I'm merely here to inform everyone about natal charts and their main aspects, including the influences of the sun, the moon, and the ascendant. As most of you already know, each astrological sign is meant to represent characteristics of a person's personality. Aries has similar characteristics to other Aries, as do Taurus to other Taurus, and Sagittarius to other Sagittarius. Natal charts do the exact same thing as the signs we were born under. These charts are just a more in-depth look into someone's personality. Like the sun signs, the signs we were all born under, the date of birth is taken into account, but so is the year, time, and location of the birth. The information is then used to figure the relationship of the planet to the location of the birth at the time of its occurrence. Why is this important? The theory is each planet has dominance over specific aspects of our personalities. These aspects are directly related to the mythology behind the planets. Venus was the goddess of love, and the planet Venus rules matters of the heart as well as the social graces. Now, before I begin on how each planet affects us, I feel it's important to tell everybody that all celestial bodies are referred to as planets in astrology. The sun is referred to as a planet, the moon, and even Pluto now. But that is not my main point. The sign many of us are most familiar with is the sun. According to the only astrology book you'll ever need, by Joanna Martine Wolfolk, the sun sign governs your individuality, your distinctive style, and your drive to fulfill your life goals. The sun represents our core being. The analogy she uses in the book is that the sun is the broad brushstroke in a painting just begun. It represents a generalized view of us, but no details yet been added. So to add detail, we move on to the moon sign. The moon is the way in which we perceive ourselves. It represents our emotions, our instincts, and the unconscious. It is our reactive side rather than the thoughtful side. And according to Aspects in Astrology by Sue Tompkins, the moon sign is where we retreat to. It is our place of safety. This is because the moon has dominance over the five senses, thus is more instinctual rather than intellectual. Now it begs the question, which is more important, the sun or the moon? The answer is neither. The heart cannot function without blood, and our blood is worthless without oxygen. The same is true for the natal chart. No part of the natal chart works independently, rather they combine to create the whole. Next we move on to the ascendant. The ascendant reflects our outward demeanor, or how the outside world views us as individuals. It can also be thought of as the image or impression one first presents to the world. According to Aquamoon Astrology, a website from the UK with support from NASA, the ascendant is a sign that was rising over the eastern horizon at the time of birth. This sign is said to rule oneself, their self-awareness, their self-sufficiency, and their self-interest. And up until the 20th century, the ascendant was considered more important to astrologers than the sun sign. Unfortunately, I could find no reasoning for this change in thought. Normally, this is the point in the speech, I would move on to the other 8 planets. However, the timeline doesn't allow for that. So, instead, I will simply conclude by reminding everyone that a natal chart is a more in-depth look into someone's personality, and it is figured through the relationship of the sun, the moon, and the ascendant to the date, time, and location of a person's birth. Thank you.